What it do? Welcome to another new episode of Technical File. We ain't gonna hold y'all up. We got NBA free agency news to get into, some draft recaps, plus money in the bank to preview. So we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's hit that theme music. Welcome to episode 349 of Technical File, the sports podcast you never knew you needed.
And it's your boy, TIMKINZ, the number 3, a.k.a. Ass Catching, a.k.a. Mr. Give It To Me. 349 is a hefty number.
Crazy.
I am the Eric J.
Only known as
The Eric J.
And I'm Camille, point guard of the crew, the real life Tifa Lockhart, the girl next door. You know, holding it down for all the women who love sports. Our guy, K. Harris, the gentleman. He is not here this week. He is celebrating the birthday of his youngest daughter. So happy birthday to her. As well as happy birthday to Cartwheel and Mo, an old Tech File. Happy birthday to Cartwheel and Mo. All right, some housekeeping before we get into the swing of things here. Friendly reminder, please like our YouTube page. If you see a video pop up, please like that. Please head over to our social media pages as well at Technical File on the Twitter, the Instagram, and the TikTok. Technical File Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. Wherever you can, leave a review, rate and review us 5 stars. Leave a glowing review about how much you love Tech File, while you love Tech File. And as always, tell a friend, tell somebody about Tech File. Show us what that word of mouth do, because they don't listen to us because we own the show. They think we be lying. So y'all got to tell the people how much y'all enjoy the show, how much y'all love the show, how much y'all rock with the show, and we can go from there. So yeah, that's the housekeeping to get out the way. If you're watching on a YouTube video, make sure that you like it up, drop a comment, all that good stuff as well to help with the algorithm. We need that, especially on like our socials too, like our Instagram and all that stuff. Help us with the algorithm. Like it up, drop some comments so we can get it in front of more people as well. All right. Game that needs name. Eric, you're going to be here next week for the belt. So we might be back with that mid-July once all 4 of us are present to play the game live and in person. So all that being said, that means that we are at that point in the show where it's time to talk about them topics. So let's get on into it. First and foremost, we have to talk about what has been going on throughout NBA free agency, because some changes have been made, ladies and gentlemen. Some changes have been made. Paul George is a 76er. Klay Thompson is a Maverick. The Celtics are for sale now, apparently, after they threw out 2 big bags, 2 contract extensions to Derek White and to Jason Tatum. Chris Paul and Wemby are teammates. Isaiah Hartenstein, he's a Thunder. KCP is heading to Orlando. Meanwhile, you got guys like Tobias Harris, Andre Drummond, and Nick Batum spinning the block during free agency. There's been a lot happening. I say all that to ask you all. Eric, I'll start with you. What have been, in your opinion, the 3 biggest free agent moves?
So I think number one is pretty obvious, since he was the big. Well, I guess technically LeBron is the big fish, but of the people most likely to move things in free agency, Paul George was the biggest fish in the sea. So him going to Philadelphia is the most likely to change championship odds. After that, I had Isaiah Hartenstein going from New York to Oklahoma City, and then KCP signing with Orlando was my third most impactful move.
I had the same number one, like you mentioned, Paul George. That was the first domino that a lot of people were waiting for anyways. I had that number one as well. I also had Hartenstein to OKC as my two. But for my third one, I went with Clay to Dallas. And before we even dive deeper into those as well, Tim, what were your three, just so we can kind of rank our order of operations for our own personal conversation?
PG, Clay, and then Chris Paul to the Spurs, actually, was my number three.
So let's start with Paul George. As we mentioned, that first domino, he is now in Philly. They got a new big three, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, who's coming back on a re-signed contract as well. How are y'all feeling about Philly and what they are bringing to the balance in the Eastern Conference? Have they gotten better? Are they a contender? Are they on the Celtics level? Have they surpassed the Bucks? All of these different things. How are you feeling about Philly right now, Tim? Why don't you start us off?
Philly definitely got better. I do feel like they may have leapfrogged to probably being the number 2 contender in the East. On paper, healthy, this squad is a problem. Philly had a bunch of money, and not only did they get PG-13, but they also picked up a backup center, Andre Drummond. They also picked up Eric Gordon to help at the 2-guard spot, coming off the bench or fill in the gap, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, you got the big three. So in its totality, like, this Sixers squad on paper is a monster. Tyrese is a handful, trying to break into that superstar status. PG-13 has already been that way as a two-way. Joel Embiid. Now, the only thing that can pretty much stop Philly, I feel like, is their help.
Big one.
Like, you have big question marks on 2 of your top 3 players on this squad, but having a two-way guy like Paul George and what he can bring to the table, offensively and defensively, it can help with the issue of, like, Boston has a bunch of wings and New York has a bunch of wings. So now you don't have the ability to really double Embiid if you want to like that, bringing in a Paul George, because if you do, then you got George to light him up. Maxey is a handful on his own, as we seen last year. I think he got comeback player of the year, not comeback player, most improved last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Well deserved.
I feel like with the type of help that he's gotten now, like, you was looking for Buddy Hield to be your shooter. Now you got Eric Gordon, who I feel like is a lot more consistent. Even at his age. I mean, shit. Him and Buddy could have been a toss-up then, because it ain't like it's a big drop-off if he is.
Buddy didn't play well in Philly, but historically, he is a better shooter.
I'm only going up for what have you done for me lately. In Philly, he had damn near half a season to do nothing. So what you get from Eric Gordon, who actually was pretty decent coming off the bench last year in his role, limited role, but another health concern. And like, Philly has guys who can contribute, who can do what you need them to do in the capacity that you're looking for, but they have. I can't remember how many games Drummond played last year, but he'd be off and on. Like, you have talent there for sure. If healthy, this Sixers squad should give everybody problems. But the caveat, health. Availability is the best ability.
That is very fair. Eric, I saw you making the faces. How are you feeling about Paul George for Philly?
So the faces, because, like, I don't know if we can say that they're better when they have, like, a third of a roster. Like, they have the big three. They brought in Drummond and Gordon, who are probably going to be bench guys. They brought back Kelly Oubre, and then what? Because they had to, like, pretty much get rid of their entire roster to be able to have the space to sign Paul George. So it's like they have it incomplete from me at the moment. Like, I get it's a solid foundation, but, like, you can't win a title with 5.5 dudes. Like, it don't work like that. So I won't go so far as to say they leapfrogged anybody. Like, they have a nice base from which to build, but the downside of building a big three is that you don't have enough resources, especially in this new NBA environment, to, you don't have as many resources to throw at players to round out the rest of your rotation. So we'll see what they do with the rest of the moves on the margins. So I'm withholding judgment at the moment, but, like, it's a solid move. Like, you're essentially taking Tobias Harris and making that Paul George.
Right.
So it's a good start, but we'll see. And obviously, like the stuff that you guys said about health is always important, especially on a team with Embiid. But
And Paul George.
And Paul George.
Like those are two wild card when it comes to the health for sure. I think that's fair to say it's incomplete still at the moment. Them getting Kelly Oubre back helps. I wasn't sure what his market would look like or if he was going to try to cash out after having a good year last year, but he said I'm going to stay in Philly, little cheap contract here. I'm going to stay here and do my thing. So it's a good start for him. The question becomes, I've been already seeing the conversations of people saying like, oh, Philly's big three is one of the best in the league and this and that. I feel like people aren't putting enough respect on Milwaukee's big three at the moment because, I mean, to be fair, health has been a problem for Milwaukee's core at the moment as well. So when it comes to the Eastern Conference and looking at how this all might shake out, like health is going to be of the utmost important. We've had 2 straight postseasons now in Milwaukee where Giannis does not finish. He started against the Heat 2 years ago, got injured, came back, but it was not the same. He didn't play at all. This past year, we already know the Chris Middleton health problems that we've had. Dame was banged up as well during that playoff run. He missed a couple games against the Pacers. So, like, fully healthy. Personally, I'm still going with that Bucks trio over that Philly trio. But you got to be healthy. You got to be healthy. I think it's a good move for Philly because upgrading from Tobias Harris to Paul George is indeed an upgrade. That contract might get gross at the end with Paul George getting older, but I also think Paul George has a type of game that's going to age pretty well because he does a little bit of everything. He's going to be able to do the playmaking, the dribbling, the shooting. Athleticism is going to fall, so the defense at some point is going not to be as strong. I mean, it's already not like prime Paul George, but like he's still an above average defender at the moment. So I think his game will age pretty well.
He became the number 1 Paul on the team.
You said what?
He became the number 1 Paul on the team. They still got Paul Reed too.
No, they don't. They have to. He most likely will not return, from my understanding. You bought Paul because part of them clearing all this cap space, they had to like renounce.
That's what I was saying. Like they had Embiid, they had Maxi's cap hold, and I think they had their first round pick, and that was pretty much it. And they've now had
to get rid of. They got rid of Lowry, I'm sure. Like I think he's a free agent.
He could be a vet man that comes back.
And then you got Paul Reed, but y'all saying that he gone. Then they had Campaign. He got arrested. I don't know if he's coming back or not.
Real quick, did you see Campaign try to give a fake name when he got arrested? Yeah. What's he say? Terry Johnson?
Mm-hmm. If y'all arrest me on a fake name and y'all got it, like shut up. Why? Why are you doing this, bro?
Right.
So to your point about Milwaukee's health, like the way I've been saying is that in the last 2 postseasons, the Bucks have had like maybe 8 minutes of healthy Giannis. Like it makes a difference.
A big one.
Yeah. So
a big one. Okay. Eric, me and you both mentioned the Hartenstein trade, or not trade, but signing to the Thunder. That was second on my list because one thing we talked about with the Thunder a lot last year was that they were small. They didn't have the rebounding. Like a center just seemed like a position for them where it was like, y'all should probably do something here. I understood the play style. They wanted to see how it would work out for them. They did. And they went and got them a center that defensively can do a bit of everything for you. Strong. You can play him next to Chet. You can have the flexibility to play just him or just Chet on the court. I just really like the fit. Some might say it's an overpay. Could be. But they got some cap room to spend. And they also were able to re-sign some guys to some contracts that could be tradable if they need to do so. So, like, I just really like that move for the Thunder. It weakens the Knicks. I'm not sure if people are giving enough credit to Hartenstein and what he did defensively for the Knicks, especially given the fact that Mitchell Robinson tends to be hurt a lot of the time as well. So they're really going to miss him. And the Knicks now have a hole at center as well that they're looking to fill. I think I saw rumors about them poking around Walker Kessler to see if they might be able to pull something off with that. But I love the fit of Hartenstein in OKC.
Now, Camille, you know that when Tom Thibodeau has an opening for a big man, who's going to fill that slot?
Taj Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Damn T. But no, I agree. I agree with everything she said. Like the only question that I really have is are they able to play Hartenstein and Chet at the same time? Like theoretically, yes, but as far as like spacing on offense and all those things, like I believe in Chet as a player and that he will eventually get to, like super stretch five, like where he can kind of play a do everything big role. But from what we saw last year, I don't think he's quite there yet. Like he's good and he's improving, but to the point where he played pretty much 100% of his time as the lone big man on the court last year. So it's we need proof of concept before I'm willing to be like, oh, this is great. But it does shore up a lot of it should shore up a lot of their deficiencies from last year in conjunction with the Giddey for Caruso swap. Like they have great defenders up and down that roster, great versatile defenders up and down that roster. They can play big, they can play small. Like they're not beholden to one play style like they were last year. Like now they have a little bit more optionality in their lineups. And they still have a ton of wings. So like if they need to go small, like it's not really a problem. So yeah, I love what they've done with their offseason so far, and they haven't had to like use any of the millions of first round picks that they have. And if it does bear out that Hartenstein's a bad fit with them, like that's a big salary that they can use and couple with the first round picks that they have to make the upgrade that they need to. So they have a lot of flexibility, both on the court and on their cap sheet. So like Sam Presti is really good at his job.
Yes, he is. Jeff Boo, I see you just came in the comments. What's up, sir? We have not talked about Doc's and the younger players in the Bucks. That's something I will definitely be talking about in a little bit. So stay tuned on that one. We're just recapping some of the biggest moves from free agency so far. And the next move to discuss is the fact that there's an end of an era in Golden State with Klay Thompson no longer being a Warrior. 13 years in that Warriors uniform have come to a close, and he is now a Dallas Maverick. Tim, when you saw that news, what was your reaction? How do you feel about his fit in Dallas?
I think it'll be a good fit for him in Dallas. I say that because I believe they lost Derrick Jones Jr. I would say they have Derrick Jones Jr. there in order to fill kind of that starting role, and he can just kind of come off the bench and be like a catch and shoot three.
They could be the case with Najee Marshall if they want to go that route.
They could, and Golden State was already talking about bringing him off the bench anyways. I don't know if you're paying him $50 million to come off the bench.
That man got benched last year.
So it's one of those like with the offensive talent between Kyrie and Luka and Luka's passing ability, like if he gets down to the point where, hey, look, here's your spots. I know you're going to be here or there or whatever the case may be. They're going to double me or they're going to double Kyrie. Like he's no longer looking at as number 2. Now he's number 3, possibly number 4, especially if you go second unit or anything like that. Like he may be number 1 in the second unit. But with the talent that he has around him, PJ Washington still is enough of a threat. You have, if they start Lively next year, he's enough of, he's not an offensive threat, but Klay is no longer considered like 1 and 2. He's now 3, maybe 4 on a squad where, okay, I just need you to knock these open threes down, my boy. Mm-hmm. Like you do that, play some semblance of these. I don't know about the defense in Dallas at all, but offensively, they may be banking on, hey, look, we just finna outscore everybody, bro. Like we just finna put these buckets up. You either gonna keep pace or you gonna get lost. But I feel like that was probably part of their issue in the finals. It's like, yeah, you can put them up, but if you got somebody that can slow that down and put them up at the same time, it's a bit of a problem. So whatever role, the role that I envision him being is the 3 and semi-D guy who, in essence, will fill their 3-point. It's not a 3-point void, but they kind of did. They really didn't have no shooting outside of Kyrie and Luka. So it's like, okay, you can get that. So then, like, you can fill that 3-point void that they've been looking for. Derrick Jones is inconsistent. Like, he didn't really show up in the finals at all. PJ can knock him down, but I don't know if you're banking on him to be the 3-point threat like that. Like, they needed somebody else to come in and be like a knockdown shooter, and I believe that Klay can help fill that void for them. Again, like I said, defensively, though, We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think that 3-point shooting is the big piece of it. Like, they just didn't have anybody reliable to knock that shot down consistently. And this is not the Klay Thompson that we saw, during the peak years of the Warriors dynasty. And I don't think for him to be an efficient player for Dallas that he needs to even be that particular guy. Like, people were saying, like, oh, Klay had such a down year this year, which he did for Klay Thompson. But yet and still, with him on a down year, he was still able to shoot, 39% from three, making him the best Mavericks 3-point shooter that they would have on their team to kick out. And that's part of what you saw in the finals, like you mentioned, Tim, where when they were able to break down the defense on them switches, when they started showing a little bit more help and you're kicking out 2 corners, or the fact that, Boston just gave them all the above break threes they wanted. Like, if you want to shoot from the wings for above the break, go ahead, because we know that's not in y'all bag. You can't do that with Klay Thompson. Like, Klay Thompson is a catch and shoot specialist, and even at this age, he knocks down some really, really tough ones. So he should get some good looks playing alongside Luka and Kyrie. The defense, Jason Kidd will have to figure that out. You're going to have to really make sure that Derek Lively behind him works out. And then also just situational. Like, if it's a situation where you need more defense, go ahead and go with Najee Marshall instead of Klay Thompson in that situation. Whatever the switch might be. But just having some more flexibility there. I like that move for Klay if he had to leave. I know his dad was upset that he didn't go to the Lakers. But, hey, Klay's his own man. So, to the Mavericks he goes.
I personally didn't care for this move for Dallas specifically. Like, I respect everything that Klay Thompson has done in his career. He will always be able to shoot. Like, his leg could fall off and he's still going to shoot, high 30% on high volume. Like, that's always going to be in his bag. Where my concern comes in is, one, on the defensive end, like we've alluded to. Like, we just watched this season when the Bucks had no perimeter defense whatsoever, and like they had 2 of the best rim protectors, and it didn't fucking matter because, like, if you letting people get to their spots on the perimeter, like, they can stretch you out, they can, drive and kick, they can beat you in a million different ways, and not even have to worry about getting to the rim. So I'm concerned there because, like, if they do play a lineup of Kyrie, Luka, and Klay Thompson, like, that's 3 average at best defenders, and that's really stretching the concept of average. And then also, if you do opt for a more defensive heavy lineup, obviously subtracting Klay from it, like, he proved in Golden State that he's not the easiest person to deal with when he's frustrated, and that's without having like the cachet that he had in Golden State. So it's like, if you come in as a dude, and like Jason Kidd, like, we know how Jason Kidd is on a personal level too. Like, he's not one to kind of like mince his words and be like, you're not playing well, get your ass out. How does he respond to that? Like, obviously Draymond was the loud problem in Golden State, but like Klay was kind of a quiet problem that they had to manage since he's come back from his injuries. So I don't know. We'll see. Like, I'm not as like, this is a slam dunk home run move for Dallas. Like, maybe I'm just a natural pessimist, but like I'm looking at the downsides and I'm like, I don't know if the game necessarily matches what the game is at this point.
I think that's a fair thing to point out, the defense. I love that you brought the Bucks up because, yes, that was a big problem for the Bucks not having any perimeter defenders. I also wanted to talk just about some moves that happened, and it's still very, very early. We're only on day 3 of free agency at this point, so it's still very early. The final answer to this question could change, but for right now, just talking about which under the radar signings have we liked the most, or re-signings. Like, you heard about it and you were just like, dang, that's a good move. And I say this because the one that I had was one of the moves that Tim liked the best as one of the biggest free agency moves. And that was Chris Paul to San Antonio. And I just love the fit, just having a real true point guard down there to play with Wemby. I love that fit. We talked about how much the Spurs needed a point guard, and now you went and got the point guard. Of course, as we have mentioned with Klay Thompson, this is not the Chris Paul of old. This is not even Phoenix Chris Paul at this point. He is only really good in, spot minutes, but those spot minutes should be really impactful, I think, for the Spurs on court, as well as what he can mentor. Because Stefan Castle, he kept saying, I'm a point guard. I'm a point guard. I'm a point guard, y'all. People were like, I think you're a combo guard. And they bring in Chris Paul. And if you are going to learn how to play point guard or get your point guard skills up, that's a great bet to learn for him. I love the fact that his contract is only for 1 year, 11 mil. That price point keeps him at a point where if he is bought out, he can sign with any contender. I think it's a real tradable contract as well for the Spurs, so that if middle of the season things are going well or they're not going well, you want to flip that for assets, you can. I love everything about that trade. Tim, is there anything else, or not trade, but signing? Is there anything else with Chris Paul to San Antonio that particularly you love about this move?
You kind of hit on most of it, but just the fact that Wemby gets a true point guard who's going to really, he knows, feed this man, bro. Give him the ball. Forget all of those random ass possessions where Vassell looking at him and looks him off, and he wide open under the rim, or he cutting down to the paint. And everybody's like, I don't know if I can make that, bro. If you throw it to the top of the backboard, he catching that motherfucker. I was looking at him warming up with the French squad in practice, cooking. My man tries to throw an entry pass, dude, block. He's like, all right, fuck it, fade away three in my come on, dog. He's 7'8". He's tall as shit. He's shooting over everybody. He's dunking on everything. Chris Paul, the lobs for one, he probably gonna catch the most lobs he probably ever caught in his career. Two, Chris Paul is still a mid-range maestro. So even if he can't create from the 3-point range, he can get to his spot still. And Wemby area, he's probably going to find him. Guys like Darius Vassell is going to benefit from him because then he'll probably have better looks instead of having to create more. Guys like Jeremy Sohan, he ain't gotta be the creator no more.
Shout out to Serial Sensei, who just said that in the comments as well. He said, I ain't gotta watch them experiment with Sohan bringing them off the court no more. What a time to be alive.
Castle learning from Chris Paul, like you said, is going to be great for him. Hell, they both can probably be on the floor at the same time, and he can probably be out there coaching them, helping them figure things out. He's going to help on the defensive end because he's a great basketball mind, high IQ guy, offense and defense. He'll probably be able to relay what Doc is trying to get across to. Pop is trying to get across to the younger cats. He'd be able to, hey, I've worked with a bunch of different coaches, bunch of different styles, bunch of different stars. Here's what we need to do. Here's what he's trying to relay. Here's what we worked well with. I've played with different guys, kind of like you had Lob City, so I know what it's like to have a bunch of different guys who are really athletic on the floor with me, things like that. So him having the knowledge that he has and coming down and kind of being like an on-court coach for Pop will help them tremendously. So Tim Duncan was my favorite, but I was never a Spurs fan. So I feel like I'll to more Spurs games because my guy Chris Paul is there.
That's fair. That's fair. Eric, any quick Chris Paul thoughts, or you want to keep it moving?
Just that the combined brain power of Pop plus Chris Paul can only do wonders for prime Victor. It's kind of setting the blueprint for okay, what works, what doesn't work, what teaching the game type stuff. I'm not sure if Chris Paul is necessarily the mentor type. He seems like more of a drill sergeant, but I think at this stage of the development of the Spurs, that's more of what they need. They need somebody to be like, no, that's stupid. Don't do that. You know what I mean? They need somebody to kind of kick them in the ass to kind of get them on the right track, and then hand off the reins to the next iteration of Spurs point guard.
This can kind of be Chris Paul OKC part 2.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, even Devin Booker said that playing with Chris Paul taught him how to be a better guard. That's probably part of why they had confidence in him being quote unquote point guard for the team last year, which they need a point guard. But Devin Booker is a great secondary ball handler. He's a great secondary ball handler. Eric, a move
actually,
for you.
You just mentioned Suns point guards.
That was my move. Later.
Go ahead. What move for you did you like?
Go Tim.
Yeah.
Speaking of Suns point guards, Monte Morris signed with the Suns because they desperately needed a point guard, a bona fide point guard, and one of the best things and traits about him being a point guard is he does not turn the ball over much, which was a big problem for Phoenix. I think they was like number 25 or 26 last year in turnovers. Like, them motherfuckers couldn't keep the ball on their side of the floor. And that's because you had a lot of guys creating for other guys who are not necessarily known for creating for other guys. Like, you're forcing people into situations where they are more so prone to create for themselves. And if something opened up, cool, I might pass. But not somebody who's specifically supposed to be setting the table for other people. I feel like Morris was always a pretty good to above average backup guard. And he had his spotty starts where he was like, okay, I can see something here. Him being able to, if you give him the confidence, like, okay, look, we'll insert you here as our starting guard. We're not expecting you to put nothing up on offense. We just need you not to turn the ball over and set our guys up. I feel like he will excel in that role, especially with a Bill and a Booker and a Durant around him. So them signing him, I feel like is maybe a under the radar, but a very high value signing for them in the long run.
I feel you on that one. Eric, what about you?
My move or Monte Morris?
Your move.
What did I say? Najee Marshall. Like, he's been one of my favorite under the radar guys for years in New Orleans. Like, I feel like him and Aaron Wiggins, like, every time I watch them, like, they're not necessarily going to give you anything flashy, but they're just really solid, dependable role guys that you need on a really good team. Najee Marshall has size, he can shoot a little bit, but he's a very tough, rugged defender. Mm-hmm. Like, I like it as a Derrick Jones replacement in Dallas.
Yeah, I do too. Not as athletic as Derrick Jones Jr., but I think defensively, like, he's a havoc causer. Like, Najee Marshall causes havoc, and they definitely need that. So I like that one as well. Let's go to the other side of that. What move has puzzled you the most? Like, either you don't feel like it's a great fit for you, or you don't get the contract, just something that you just like, what? Because for me, it was Jonas Valanciunas going to the Wizards, where I was like, okay, I didn't expect this to be one of the early free agent signings with you going there. I thought you might be able to, find yourself in a more competitive situation if you would have, saw the market out. But fit-wise, I can get it. If Sarr is more of a 4 than a 5, then having someone like Valanciunas next to him makes some sense. But it was just one of those moves where I was like, doesn't do too much for me personally. Who else has anything else on that one?
I was just gonna say, I felt like he took the bag. Like, Washington was like, we'll give you the most money. Like, cool. And he gets to play as much as he wants to. Like, he doesn't really have to worry about somebody coming in and taking his minutes. Like, that seemed like more of a, I want to have fun playing basketball and get paid for it. So
if Washington is the spot, go ahead, brother, prosper.
My move was not necessarily like confusing, but just like disgusted, which is Kevin Porter Jr. getting signed by the Clippers. And like, in a vacuum, like, maybe you believe that whatever you believe, but it's a string of moves that the Clippers have made that have been really opportunistic grabs at talent that come with extreme baggage. So like, they signed Josh Primo last year after his sexual harassment problem with the Spurs. They signed Kai Jones after his, what I'm assuming was like a drug problem with Charlotte, and now signing Kevin Porter Jr. after a brief sabbatical because of a domestic violence charge. Like, I get it that this is a competitive game and like talent is a finite resource, but you can't be the we don't give a fuck about your personal life if you can hoop team. Like, I can't get with that. And
I think that's fair. Tim, what about you?
Initially I had the Celtics and their captain, but it doesn't necessarily fit the narrative of the question. To answer the question, I would say Jalen Smith and the Bulls. They gave him 3 years, $27 million, but they used majority of their $12.9 million mid-level exception on signing him, which is like, fuck y'all doing? Like, seriously, what are y'all doing, bro? Like, Jalen Smith I always liked the idea of Jalen Smith. Like, he's supposed to be a bigger guy, can board, be a bit mobile, can knock down some threes. Last year was his best 3-point year by far. Like, he shot like 40+% from three last year, but that's what Halliburton feeding him the ball. Like, typically he's around like 30. So, like, that's a crazy jump in one season. It helped him get paid. Don't get me wrong. But again, for the Bulls to use their mid-level exception, most of their money on that was kind of like, what y'all doing, bro? Like, for real, y'all just gave Patrick Williams all of this money, 5 years, $90 million, and then turn around. Okay. Hey, y'all didn't have no money. Y'all trying to move Levine, contract ain't working. Y'all don't really want to sign and trade DeRozan. What are y'all doing, bro? Not understanding.
I mean,
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I saw someone just say like the Chicago Bulls operate like the Herb Cole Bucks. And once I saw that, I was like, it just makes everything make a lot of sense. Trying to be competitive, but you don't want to pay a lot of money. So you just kind of throwing some things together. You're not really going for it. It just is what it is. Jalen Smith, I think you said it perfectly, Tim. I've always liked the idea of Jalen Smith. He's still young. It's a chance that he does develop. I mean, it took I can't think of his name with the hair on the Bulls right now. The guard.
Cody White.
Yeah, Cody White. It took him a second to figure that out.
And I liked him a lot when they drafted him.
Yeah, and it was not looking good early. But this past season that he just had, like, you're just like, yeah, Kobe, like, you might have figured something out here. So sometimes it takes some time. I think that's what the Bulls are hoping for, but I can definitely get how that is a move that comes off as pretty puzzling. So Ken is not here this week, so sorry for those of y'all who were looking for some more in-depth Lakers takes this week, but he's not here to represent the squad. The Bucks fans are here, so we are going to talk just a little bit about how we have felt that the Bucks offseason has gone so far since the draft is now complete. Free agency has begun. The Milwaukee Bucks drafted A.J. Johnson in the first round and Tyler Smith in the second round. And so far throughout free agency, the news is that they have signed DeLon Wright to a minimum contract for 1 year, which of course won't be official until this weekend. But those are all the moves that the Bucks have made thus far. How are y'all feeling? Oh, go ahead, Eric.
As Bucks fans, I can guarantee that Bucks free agency essentially starts as soon as we finish recording this episode. It's either going to be tonight or tomorrow. They're going to sign at least one or two players. They're going to make a trade or something. Something's going to happen within the next 24 hours of 7:16 Central on July 2nd. Guaranteed.
It's usually right after we get done.
Yeah.
For right now, they're standing pat for the most part. The draft pick surprised me that they drafted two guys who don't project to be guys who will contribute at all this year. I thought it was pretty likely that the Bucks traded one or both of those draft picks to try to find some more immediate help. But they kept both, and they plan to roster both guys, meaning that the Bucks will have 6 young guys on this roster heading into the season, barring any additional trades or anything like that. Of course, that's the asterisk with this conversation. We are having this conversation with the information that we have right now. And right now, the Bucks are looking like a team that wants to lean in to using the younger players. So to Jeff's point that he had earlier when he first joined the stream, Jeff asks, has Doc talked about using younger players since we have like 6 really young guys and then guys over 30? And they mentioned that exactly during the A.J. Johnson, Tyler Smith press conference, introductory press conference today, in which they mentioned we have 6 core vets returning. We have 6 core guys, Giannis, Chris, Dame, Brooke, Bobby, and Pat Connaughton. He said we have 3 young vets. Is the wording that he used for that, for Marjon Beauchamp, for Andre Jackson Jr., and for AJ Green. And then he mentioned Chris Livingston separately, just by saying like he's been working really hard this summer. We believe he's going to be ready to contribute this upcoming season. And then we have our 2 rookies who we're not saying that they won't play. If they show us that they are, ahead of schedule, they will find a way onto the court. But it matches what I was saying last week on the show about how the new CBA is adjusting things and how I feel like there's just going to be more emphasis on player development going forward for some of these teams, because you're going to need those cheap contracts, and having the control over them is also going to be very helpful. And it seems like the Bucks are really going to lean into that youth movement to at least a certain degree. Of course, they're going to have some guys they can sign in free agency. But what appears to be the case is that if a young guy comes into camp and shows I am better than him, he is going to get that playing time. Doc has a history of playing rookies if they have shown that they are good, and young guys if they have shown that they are good. So I don't know where that whole narrative came about Doc don't like young guys, because that's not true.
Ain't that the thing with him? Like, he don't really fuck with young players, but I guess
I mean, he was one of the people when they're getting ready to trade SGA who was like, wait a second now, y'all.
Not saying he would play him, but he was like, hey, he could be
No,
good.
he was playing. SGA played under him as a rookie. And when they were talking about trading him, Doc was one of the people like, are you sure y'all want to do this? Like, this kid is special.
And that's what I think that people get lost on, is that these coaches, first of all, like, is it in the coach's best interest to play their best players? And like, if they're not playing the young guy, it's probably because the young guy isn't showing them what they need to see to get on the court. It's like, you can't just be like, play the young guys. It's like, if they stink, they stink. Like, all the playing time in the world isn't gonna matter. Like, I remember the Bucks drafted Rashad Vaughn and played him a ton, and he was garbage. And then he wound up being garbage. Like, it's not, like, yes, reps help, but like, I think that there's a baseline that young players need to hit to be able to get onto the court. And it's like, if they don't reach that, then I don't want them just on the court, especially on a team that's trying to win the championship. Like, I don't want them on the court wasting possessions because, like, you think that this is the way to develop it. It's like, as fans, we only have limited information to go off of, so you always think, like, optimistically, where it's like, oh, yeah, this guy that's buried on the bench, he could be anything. You just got to give him an opportunity. It's like, he's not getting the opportunity for a reason.
Yeah, and I think one thing for the Bucks that was interesting this past season is that Doc came in halfway through, and he admitted out loud, the young guys are at a disadvantage because I don't know them, and we don't have much practice time for me to see what they're able to do. So if people want to use the last half season of Doc Rivers, like, well, he didn't play the young guys. He was playing Pat Connaughton. He already came in and said, I'm coming in the middle of the season. I have to kind of just trust what I already know as I continue to see this team. And then we saw AJ Green getting minutes. We saw Andre Jackson getting minutes. Marjon was dealing with back spasms, but he was somebody who Doc called out once the season closed as somebody who he's really interested in seeing more of next year. So, like, there's a pathway for some of these guys to hit. And I think for me, and I'll throw it to you, Tim, tell you about the Bucks offseason. I think there's three big questions. And I was talking to Mike Sazek on Twitter about this. Shout out to Mike. Three big questions for the Bucks, and I think that is what is going to frame how you feel about this team. One, do you trust that their core, assuming there are no trades made, do you think that core is good enough? The 6 returning vets is good enough to win a championship. Do you believe in the Dame, Giannis, Chris trio? Do you believe in Brooke and Bobby and Pat as guys who can be solid playoff rotation pieces? That's the first question to ask. The next one is, do you believe in those young guys? Do you really think that some 1 or 2, maybe 3 of them can pop? Like, do you see a pathway for those guys to get on the court? How do you feel about those young guys? And to Eric's point, there might be a question where we're like, don't know yet. Haven't seen enough. Want to see more. But AJ Green and Andre Jackson Jr. have already shown and play like they can play a role if they can continue to improve. And that third question is, how much do you trust Doc Rivers to be your head coach? And for me, I actually think, as funny as this might sound, that Doc Rivers is probably the best coach for this situation in this team right now. But that's been the Bucks offseason so far. It feels a lot of like the CBA is kind of handicapping us a little bit. We only got that man's throw out, and we are being intentional, which they did say during the conference. We're being intentional about our roster makeup and wanting to have these young guys. We want to have a push and pull between vets and young guys on this team. And they said too, like I said, if the 2 rooks show they can play, they'll play. But I wouldn't count on that personally.
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like I'm waiting for something bigger, but at the same time, it's like several teams in the East got better. So the last several seasons and off seasons has been us plus somebody else, And so going into this one and seeing the improvement by the Knicks or seeing the improvement by the Sixers or seeing the improvement just on the court by Indiana, it's kind of like, okay, is there something that can or should be done by us? Or, like you said, is it enough faith and trust in what we currently have to where I'm like, we still can contend? The answer is yes. I still feel like we can contend for a chip. The answer is yes. I feel like the guys, if we stay pat, is good enough to. No, we're good enough to make a run and give people issues because, like we alluded to earlier, Camille, you said earlier, like Chris, Dame, and Giannis is still an issue. Brooke, there's still an issue.
A big
Bobby
one.
Showing up in the playoffs, showing up throughout the season is an issue. Well, second half of the season, but still, showing up is an issue. Pat Connaughton is consistent. Like, he's going to be there when we need him, typically. He's playoff games where we need something to happen, and we've turned to Pat. Pat's made things happen. But we also have an influx of athleticism, an influx of talent, an influx of youth, where AJ Green is a knockdown shooter. Like, we expect if that motherfucker go up, we damn near expecting it to go in. Right? If he on the move or standing still, like, we expecting that bitch to drop. With Ajax, I said it last year a lot. He was where he was last year. We expected Marjan to be at. So if he can improve on that, he's going to be a real problem. And then he's also going to have a year under his belt with experience. We call him the young vet. Marjan, for example, again, everybody was kind of going off of the freaking game he had in the offseason where how much he put up? 80, 60? Some shit
that
like
Pro-Am game he had over the summer.
You got something. There's something there. Like, regardless if it's a Pro-Am game, putting up that many points and shit like that, something there. Everybody ain't doing it. But you're displaying a skill set that could, if you continue to work on it, it could throw. Like, you could be more of a consistent three-point shooter. You could be more of a consistent defender. You could be more of a bigger body that can kind of do a Swiss Army knife kind of. If we can put all of that together and we have lineups say, hey, we want to get out and run. So we'll put Dame, we'll put Ajax, we'll put AJ, and we'll put Marjan out there with Giannis at the 5 temporarily.
Just go crazy.
Yeah, like we want to run with these cats. Okay, we're running. Or hey, we need more defense. So then we have DeLon Wright come off the bench. I heard he's a defensive guy. We have DeLon, but they want to keep your some scoring. Go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick to DeLon Wright. It's a good pickup in my opinion. He's not the starter, but I think he's a really good rotational piece, and he hits a weakness that we saw with the Bucks last year, which was perimeter defense. Like, he's a good point of attack defender. So I do think he is someone who's going to be helpful. Yeah.
Again, we want to get some defense out there. So we'll throw Ajax, we'll throw Wright, we'll throw Giannis, we'll throw, like, you still want to have Giannis in either situation. You can have Chris out there because he's not even though he's not as athletic as he used to be, Chris is still a problem. And he can hold his own enough, maybe a small ball 4 to where, okay.
That's what I want to see. I've been telling y'all this since last season. I want to see the small ball lineup with Chris at the 4 next to Giannis, and then just
everybody
figure that out.
People moving more towards mobility, so like you're seeing 6'8" power forwards now. So Chris is right there with them. You're seeing 6'9", 6'10" centers and shit like that. So like, because mobility is becoming a thing and athleticism is becoming a thing, it's not like we're having a bunch of 7-foot giants all over the place like they used to. It's a lot more mobile, smaller guys. So having Chris playing a small ball 4 at this stage in his career, he still had an old man strength and shit.
To change up pitch, to be clear, like not all the time, but just
like, hey, I want to switch the lineup up a little bit. Let's do a little something different here, but we can still keep some offense on the floor and not necessarily kill ourselves defensively. Last year, once we changed out a player or two, our defense was damn near shot. And we was also struggling offensively off the bench. So it was like, we have, I feel like, with the guys that can develop and the guys that we currently have, healthy. Hopefully we be healthy. We can still pose a really big problem in the East. It's just one of those, like, there was nothing flashy done, and I know a lot of people want the flashes. They've seen Philly and they've seen New York. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to necessarily be flash to be a.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, where I don't think that chasing what other teams have done is a prudent strategy. It's like you only have so many pitches that you can throw. So like, don't just go chasing something just for the sake of doing something. But I do think that last year kind of showed that this mix ain't really mixing. Like you need a different element to it, which I don't think necessarily internal improvement is going to change. I think that a lot of the remnants from the title team were specific to the title team, and we kind of have to recalibrate the mix around Giannis and now Dame, and to a lesser extent, Chris. I think that to answer your questions, Camille, I don't know if the returning core. You have Giannis, so you're always a contender. Like that's the baseline, but measuring like you do need to like take into consideration what your opponents are doing and like the teams that they're building, and kind of make sure that you have the versatility to be able to match up against different styles. Unless you're just overwhelming them with talent on your own and they need to match up with you. I don't think that the Bucks have that mix right now, so they do need to kind of rearrange some of the deck chairs. Whether that means like trading Brook for a more versatile big, or trading Bobby for wing help, or trading Pat for a backup point guard, whatever it is, like you kind of need to use those. I hate talking about them as assets, but use those assets to go out and get better fitting pieces around like your core three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like hopefully the young guys pop, but like I don't know if there's like I have the most faith at this point in AJ Green because like there's a proof of concept there. Like he has an elite skill that you can utilize, but even still, like I think that tops out as like the seventh guy in your rotation, maybe eighth, like where he might be part of the playoff rotation if he can really shoot it, but like he has his limitations on the other end that you kind of need to work around. And with Dame, like you already got a guy that you got to work around defensive limitations. So again, it's kind of like I think that they have an abundance of talent. It's just like the mix of the talent isn't really there for like a cohesive team at this point.
Yeah. And I think part of the trouble with trading Brook Lopez is like there are trades you can make to get under the salary, to get under the second apron. There are trades you can make to get younger, but I haven't heard any straight up where I'm like, that makes the Bucks better. The only one that kind of was like interesting to me is Wendell Carter Jr., but even yet and still, he's not necessarily as good as Brook Lopez, but he's younger and he can give you a lot of what Brook does, just not the same level. So it's like, do you want to take that step to do that? And the more I'm thinking about it, because I do think that Brook, Pat, and Bobby Portis are all still on the trading block. If a move comes that feels like this can make the Bucks better, I think they would do it. But again, the second apron, you can't aggregate contracts. So you cannot send out two guys for one. There are some loopholes where you can send two guys, but they have to, the trade has to come back in underneath the apron. Like, not going to get into all that. But again, I don't want the Bucks to make any moves just for the sake of making moves. I think that I actually have a lot of faith in someone from that young core popping. Like, I just got a feeling that it's going to be somebody who's going to come in and surprise. And they still got 2 free agency spots open. I kept saying I hope the Bucks roll with 14 and that they can just keep that 15 spot open in case somebody who they thought was going to be too expensive to sign in free agency falls back. Like Gary Trent Jr. is a name that I'm throwing out there. I'm speaking into existence because he is somebody who I thought would go for the mid-level, and apparently there is no market for him at the mid-level. So like if Gary Trent Jr. wants to come be the starting shooting guard for the Milwaukee Bucks next year, do it.
Can I just say I'm tired of 6'4" shooting guards? Like
I know.
Especially since like we've already seen Gary Trent and Dame next to each other. And
no,
that's not really correcting any of the problems that we had last year in the backcourt.
But where they are, what
I
they
feel
can
you. Okay.
That's one where I'm like.
Also, his market is his market for a reason. So
that is true. And again, the Bucks can only throw out minimums anyway. So your choices are very limited. It's not a great free agent market as it is. Tim, were you going to say something?
I thought I seen him get signed, but I guess not.
I think Gary Harris.
No, I was looking at Trent the other day.
But we'll see how it goes. The Bucks should be. I'm looking forward to Summer League. Like I'm normally kind of excited for Summer League, but this is a year where I'm like, I really can't wait to see what this looks like. So to wrap up,
half of their rotation or not
right.
rotation, like half of their roster should be there.
Right. But to wrap up, just really quick, do you have any other NBA draft or free agency thoughts that you want to get off? I really quickly just want to say some people are doing way too much on Bronny. Like, y'all are really forcing it. There are bad, quote unquote, draft picks taken every year, B. It's not like he was a first round draft pick. The Lakers did not take him at 17. He was selected at 55 in the draft. I could care less. Nepotism, everybody, oh, it's only because of who his dad is. That definitely plays a part in it. He's going to get a shot because of that name. That's how nepotism works to a certain degree. Like, it's not new. Doc Rivers announced his coaching staff today. He said Spencer Rivers is on the coaching staff. I was like, I didn't even know his son Spencer coached, but apparently he was with Monty in Detroit last year, where I'm like, had no clue that he was even coaching. But like, it's just part of the game. There are corporations that have the third or fourth generation guy working there just because of the name alone. They're going to college because they're a legacy, applicant. Like, it happens. If Bronny is not good, eventually he will flame out. So that's just how that goes.
I gotten so many questions about what you think about Bronny. What you think about the Lakers signing Bronny? My answer has always been, this is how the nation works. If it's nepotism, the nation has been built on nepotism, bro. There are so many corporations, so many front offices filled with folks, so many back offices.
We had a damn president that was a nepotism hire. Like
nepotism has ruled the world for a long time. People over in other countries were like, hey, I'm the king. I need a son to take over for me when I am gone. Regardless if you fuck with him or not, that's my kid, so he's going to take over this shit. Like, that's just how shit has always been. But for you to complain about the 5th to last pick in the damn draft,
he wasn't even fit. It was the 3rd to last. There's only 58 picks in the draft this year.
3rd to last pick in the draft. You can't name me another 3rd to last pick in the last 19, 20 fucking drafts. Fuck off, bro. For real, like, it's not that big a damn deal. If y'all expected him to come, y'all saying and talking like they drafted him and he's gonna be the starting point guard day one. No. He did get a guaranteed contract for multiple years on the rookie contract. He did get a spot on the roster.
I pointed out last year, like, Clutch did the same exact thing with Chris Livingston to get him to the Bucks. Chris Livingston and nepotism hire, Rich Paul did his job to get his client a guaranteed contract, whether it's the 55th pick or the 5th pick or the 60th pick or undrafted guy. Like, they manipulated the system, used whatever leverage they had to get the outcome that they wanted. I don't really care. I honestly, I do not give a single flying fuck why they picked him, why he's in. I don't care. Like Camille said, like, if he's all they've given him is an opportunity. If he's not good, he's not going to play. He's not going to keep a job. And LeBron about to be out the league anyway, so like that leverage is about to leave. Also, so it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it really doesn't. He's not taking a job away from some other, like, it's the 55th pick. More likely they weren't getting a job anyway. So like, he's not taking anything away from anybody.
Yep.
It doesn't fucking matter.
One other thing, y'all been on Thanasis case too hard. Okay. Y'all act like the 15th man on any team plays a lot. Like, let Thanasis have been the 15th man. And it's not as if this is unusual. J.R. Smith got his freaking brother Chris on the Knicks, and he wasn't even a star.
No.
Like, it happens. And honestly, I think it's cool to see a father and a son on the same team. Like, in basketball, like we saw with the Griffies, but like, this is also just kind of a cool story. So, whatever, I'm here for it. Eric, what's your final NBA thought before we move on?
Hit on it a couple times, but it's the second apron. It's the new CBA and all the restrictions that are in place. I understand that there's a power imbalance. So the owners have, like, if the players aren't willing to strike, then the owners have kind of like a lot of downward pressure that they can apply to kind of push through what they want. But this is so far, maybe there are intended and unintended consequences of the CBA that I'm just not seeing at this point, but it seems like a bad deal. It seemed like people are saying, well, they've kind of push the floor up. But it's like, I think there was like maybe there definitely wasn't like a regular thing where teams weren't hitting the salary floor to begin with. And even if they carried it on into the season, like they still eventually used that salary cap money. So like, I don't think that that's really a concession that the owners made, but like they definitely have now in all but name instituted a hard cap. And like you see very hard decisions being made by the teams that have spent more freely over the years, having to rein things in. It's like,
I mean, it's not a. The old luxury tax used to kill the small market teams, and teams like the Clippers used to benefit from.
The Bucks had the third highest tax bill last year. Like, I don't want to hear small market anything. Like, teams are making tons of fucking money, and it's like these are already billionaires that aren't buying in the league. Like, it's not like you're buying an NBA team as a money making endeavor. Like, clearly you don't want to like lose money, but like this is a vanity project for 95% of the league's owners. Like, I don't want to hear about how like, and if you don't want to spend the money to compete, you can be the fucking Bulls and just be a team that prints money by running out a mediocre product every year. It really does, like they've reined in like the top spenders because like they wanted to placate the broke ass owners that don't want to spend money.
I mean,
like, I'm never gonna.
No, I was going to say, I think to Tim's point too about the certain teams, there were certain teams historically that have always just said, forget what you're talking about with that luxury tax. Because we don't really care. We're going to pay it. And to Eric's point about the Bucks, I think it became a thing after a while where if you have a good team and if you have the owners who can put money behind it, market don't matter. But there have historically been certain teams like the Clippers, the Warriors who have said, we don't really care. We're going to pay it anyways. And then you have a team now with this new apron, like the Celtics, who are like, we still don't care. And here's the thing with the second apron. It doesn't necessarily handicap you from re-signing your own players. It handicaps you from adding to your roster with whatever talent you already have, which is why, like, for the Bucks, you're in a hard spot because you have 3 top-heavy contracts and you know you have some holes to plug, but you don't have the resources to do that. Meanwhile, the Celtics, they're like, we like our team. We don't care to add anybody new as it is. We got some draft picks. That's cool. So, hey, Derek White, here go your money. Hey, Jason Tatum, here go your money. After we just paid Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday. Like,
and Porzingis.
Porzingis got like 2 years left, I think, but still. For them, it's like, we don't really care. And that's probably also part of why the owner said, we're going to sell this team. We want a championship.
That shit.
Like, that's the thing that's kind of like alerting me to, like, my antenna is raised because like you have Mark Lazary, who was part of negotiating the new CBA. Like, pretty much as soon as that was done, he was like, I'm out. Mark Cuban, who has been one of the most forward-thinking owners that we've had in NBA history, was like, I'm out. Wick Grossbeck and like that ownership in Boston have again been like part of like more of the forefront of like analytics of really modern NBA organizations, and they're like, I'm out. We won a title. I'm out. Like it's becoming more of a trend, and I'm like, one, I don't like the people that are buying in. You have Jimmy Haslam, you have the Adelsons. Like, I'm afraid of what's about to buy Boston. It's like there's a change coming to the makeup of NBA ownership. There's something that the more I don't know how I really want to phrase it, but like the smarter ownership groups seem to be afraid of something that's coming, or they're just saying like, this is the peak. This is the time to cash in, which means that there's some type of fall coming. Like, I don't know if it's a bubble. I don't know if it's, like the next TV deal after this one is going to be like the issue. I don't know if they see tanking popularity coming soon. There's something that people in the know are fleeing from that's concerning to me. And maybe it is like these new rules that they've instituted to kind of like, there's no way to really build or sustain success in the ways that you were able to before, where you could just be like, okay, we got a winner. All we got to do is spend more money to kind of keep it together and keep this rolling. It's like Denver has basically like dismantling a championship team from a year ago. the Bucks are in a bad situation. The Warriors just have to get rid of everybody.
The Heat ain't
Lakers
done
got
nothing.
it to themselves. Like I'm just running through like the last couple champions that we've had, and it's like they can't keep their team together because it's too expensive, or because they're old and can't replace the players that they need to, because like they're over the taxing or over the second apron and can't really do anything.
I think it's a good place to end it. Triple T in the comments said Eric preaching #conspiracy brother. And then Tim also added in the fact that the NBA is getting more involved with the 2K League, and there's an 18-month hiatus happening to restructure it. A lot of moving parts. The NBA 2K League thing has been really interesting to me. Just the noise around it, what they're proposing to do in the next iteration with more celebrity and more just being on with personality types and everything like that. It seems like a lot, but we'll talk more about that as more news comes out for the league. Jeff Boog real quick said, can I plug the Brewers? They hit 5 grand slams in the last 8 days, and Jackson Chourio became the youngest player to hit an inside the park home run since Ken Griffey Jr. The Brewers are supposed to be bad this year, like they were supposed to be bad the year before that, and I believe the year before that as well. And here they are again, surprising folks, winning the Central and playing above their heads at the moment. The Brewers always just come off to me just like, I mean, Milwaukee loves baseball. I personally am not a big baseball fan, but I do keep score notifications on for the Brewers. I make sure I'm aware of what the Brewers are doing. Seems like they might have something here going forward.
Oh, they got something this year.
So I've seen people still mad at Craig Counsell. It's like, how you gonna be mad that he left the job? Well, I saw a sign. It was like, this thief has stole $40 million and blah, blah, blah. It's like, how you mad? He's in a worse situation. Your team's still doing good. He's stealing money, but you want him to still be your manager. I don't there's a disconnect there that I don't like. People just emotional about it. I get it, but it's just like, shouldn't you be happy that he gone if you don't like him? And also be happy like how things are going now.
Always
get mad at your ex and like she got with like a deadbeat and you done married a supermodel and you still mad because you lost the chick that you don't want no more. Like I don't get it. I don't understand.
It worked out the way it should have been, because him going to the Cubs was like somebody leaving the Packers going to the fucking Bears, or vice versa. It's like, fuck him. That's where you want to be. Yeah. You know, Chicago ain't shit to Milwaukee. Fuck them.
So
go down there.
Yeah, people were saying that the Counsell going to the Cubs was worse than like Favre to the Vikings, like the worst betrayal in Wisconsin sports history. Again, I won't pretend like I'm a huge baseball fan, but they broke it down to me. Like, he was born in Whitefish Bay. He was a ball boy for the team. His dad worked for the team. He joined the front office. Then he was the manager. Like, he turned the team around, and it was a good period of Brewers baseball. And then he went to the Cubs while the Cubs had a manager. So it was kind of like a dirty Mac hire over there and so on and so forth. Like, I get the ill will. I get it.
Then Mark Atanasio should have paid him. Like, that's what you need to be mad at.
Yeah.
But no, the Brewers got some shit this year. Like, we got typically, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Typically, part of the downfall is like, okay, we got one thing, but we ain't got something else that's sorely needed. Like, we'll have pitching, but we ain't got no bats. Or we'll have defense, but we ain't got no pitching. Like, there's typically this year we have bats. We have gloves. We have some well above average pitching to where it's like, we got some shit going here this year. Hell, our run differential is plus 74. Like, that's
about context.
Okay, for context, number one is Philly at 121. Then it's Baltimore and New York at 112 and 102. Then it's Cleveland at 98. Then it's the Brewers. We're top 5, 6 in the league in run differential. We have one of the best offenses in the league, but we also have a really good defense. And to his point, we've hit 5 grand slams. Like, we don't see that shit in Milwaukee like that. 5
you don't see that, period.
We don't see in the park home runs in Milwaukee. Shout out to fucking Chourio. I told you this.
You did. Every time I see Chourio, I think of you. I'm like, Tim said that boy, it's gonna be cold.
So I've been meaning to ask you about that because like I haven't heard his name as much as I've been heard. Was it Joey Ortiz?
Ortiz.
That
Yes.
like I've been hearing a lot about him and not so much about Churio. Like how's Churio been?
He's starting to come along. Like it was the beginning of this is his first year in the majors. Early on, low twos in the batting average, stuff like that. But his glove is there. It's more so his speed is really helping a lot of his stuff. He gets on the bases. The single is a double. A double is a home, damn near a home run. Like he had to end the park home run, which for most cats probably would have been a double. That motherfucker was floating. Like it's the things that he do. He's starting to slowly is like okay, it's starting to click.
So he's flashing basically.
Mm-hmm. So like during this run of the Grand Slams, he's actually been batting a lot better too. Like the younger cats, Bryce Turang has been having a pretty decent season. You got Yelich is killing. You got Contreras is killing. Like the biggest question mark right now for us is like, damn, Willie Adames might be a free agent, and shit, he's a good player still, good ass player. But shit, we want to move Turang over to shortstop if that's possible. You know, like if we lost him, I hate to see him go. I know a lot of women would too, but no, Adames has been the heartthrob of the team for like the last couple of seasons. So yeah, it'd be fun. He's been
all right. We had a little Brewers break. I know, Jeff, you've been asking for a little Brewers talk. If again, like I say every year, if the Brewers are playing this well late August, September, definitely we'll talk about them a little bit more. The starts always seem to be above expectation, and then it's heartbreak on the other side of that. But
you've been saying that as long as we've had this podcast, and
I've been
like
wrong.
They've made you wrong more often than not.
No, they have. They've had one like really like almost World Series run.
If that's the bar, then like everything is going to be disappointing. Like
no,
they
normally come in with people say, "Oh, they're not going to be good." Then here come the Brewers, and like, "Oh my God, y'all they good." And then it's like August, September, and people start really getting the hope, and then it's heartbreak in the playoffs. Like that's been the formula for the Brewers the last few years.
Again, that's a very high bar to clear. That's like saying the Bucks are great in the regular season, and then like they flame out because they can't get past the conference finals. It's like
I didn't say all that. You saying that. All I said is that they tend to not have expectations. They overexceed them early, and then it ends in heartbreak.
Phil's point, towards the end of the season, they usually be like, well, we were doing well. We stopped doing well, and we start getting nervous towards the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, playoffs, we like, we definitely should have beat these. Like losing to the Diamondbacks in the first round, shit like that. Like, why are we here when we was killing all year? We smoked these motherfuckers. Now we losing to them?
It's been the story for the last few years. Like that's why I'm not saying it like it's like I want it to be that way. I would love for the Brewers to win a World Series and get there. Like
I guess maybe I misinterpreted what you've been saying all along because I always read it as like they get off to a hot start and then like they fall off the map in like August and September. It's like they haven't been doing that actually. Like it may be slowing down a little bit, but like they've had sustained like regular season success for a number of years now.
Yeah,
like now the playoffs are the issue, but it's not necessarily that they like. I feel like there were years where like they will be in first place in June, and then by the beginning of August they will be like in third or fourth. Like they're not fading in the regular season now in the way that they used to, which I feel like is progress. And now it's just like the playoff success needs to come.
I mean, if we're being honest, the Brewers didn't really get consistently good until like we were towards the end of our college careers. Like that's when it was like, okay, we got something here. And then it's been some up and downs. But like for the last few years, it's been this team will not be good. They come out, they are good. They are people like, man, they doing way better than we thought. And then the season goes on, and then come August, September, they start falling in the standings a little bit. And then comes the playoffs, and then people are like, oh, we can surprise some folks, and then it's heartbreak. That's all I'm saying. I'm like, that's and slice it. There is a pattern. That's all I'm saying. I don't say I want this pattern to continue.
That summer part that you talk about, like that hasn't been happening as frequently anymore.
The summer part?
Like the August, September part that you said.
Hey, Tim, hey, he quoted me. He said, he got where I'm coming from. You don't want to watch baseball, sir. So I'm going to go with that. We're going to wrap up, though, talking some wrestling. WWE Money in the Bank takes place this Saturday, 6 p.m. start Central Time.
Real quick, one last thing. So according to BA_Turner on Twitter, the Clippers are trying to turn the Intuit Dome into like Drake's house with all the Predator things. Because like he said Miles Bridges is reportedly a fan of how the Clippers are giving people second chances.
Ooh,
so to put a bow on my point from earlier, it's disgusting that they're using off the court stuff as discount ways to bring in talent.
It's always going to be one team. It's always going to be one that says the talent is worth the risk or the reputational hit. But let's get into wrestling as we wrap up here. As I said, Money in the Bank this Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time start. 5-match card at the moment, which has been the go-to for Triple H pay-per-view so far. We have Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton in a 6-man tag match. We have Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. If Priest wins, Seth Rollins can get no more title shots while Priest is champion. If Rollins wins, Priest is out of the Judgment Day. We have Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker for the IC title. And then we have our 2 Money in the Bank matches, the men's and the women's. Which match, to start before we get into predictions, which match are you most excited about for Saturday?
Give me a new Bloodline.
New Bloodline. Okay. Tim?
The IC Championship match.
That's fair. So I'm actually really excited about the Priest Rollins match. And that was one I did not expect to, but when they added that stipulation, I was like, this is more interesting to me now. Like I'm fascinated where this goes. All right, let's make some predictions. As I have said before here on Tech File, since this is our 3rd pay-per-view now, keeping track of our predictions for wrestling PLEs, WWE PLEs. So we're gonna put our predictions on the books. Although Ken is not here, he did drop in his predictions ahead of time as well. So the record is set. So let's start here. Let's start with that championship match. Priest versus Rollins. Who do y'all got?
Seth effing Rollins.
Me too.
I think that after a year of pump fakes, like they're finally gonna push the button on the Judgment Day breakup. Feels like we're there. Feels like that's a good SummerSlam match that is like, Priest and Balor that they're already kind of setting up. I think Seth only needed to drop the title at WrestleMania because he was hurt anyway, so it was kind of time to jumpstart, that reign. Like that is his title. Like no disrespect to Priest, he had a pretty good run. It's a nice first run that kind of like cements him as a main event guy, but it's time to put the big belt back on the guy, especially after what he did for WrestleMania. Like The Rock called him the MVP of WrestleMania weekend. So like I think that they'll reward him with, giving him his spot back basically.
Tim, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Rollins. I don't see him not getting another title shot. I also feel like they've been teasing the breakup of Judgment Day for a little bit, and especially this past segment with Finn and Damian kind of like, bro, mind your business. Get out the way. Mind your business, bro. Move. I got this. He's been that way with them, honestly, since he got the belt. Like, even right beforehand, but really, since he got the belt, he's like, I'm not going to be that champ where they feel like I'm only winning because y'all. Like, get out the way, bro. Like, I'm winning on my own. I'll do this on my own. And even Seth was saying, like, hey, you be the best version of yourself once you get rid of them, bro. Like, I feel like that would be the route that he has to, in order for that to happen, he got to lose his belt. Not saying that he don't get a rematch. He going to get a rematch.
I mean, yeah. But it ain't going to be at SummerSlam because that's Gunther's title shot.
And that's the other part, too. Is like, I don't think Gunther really,
has
doesn't get the blood flowing, if you will. But Gunther, Seth Rollins, like, that's a money match.
That's a fact. That's part of my reasoning behind it. I think that Finn and them might actually be the ones to cost Damian Priest the belt. So at least if he does, when he loses it, in my opinion, it's not like his shoulders were down. It's not a clean loss where he can still have some credibility going forward as well. So I'm also going Rollins. Yeah. 6-man tag. Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens. Oh, I should say that Ken also has Seth Rollins winning. So that's a clean. That's all four of us have the same victor in that match. 6-man tag, Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. It will surprise nobody that Ken has Cody, Kevin, and Randy winning that match. He is alone on this match this go around. Personally, for me, this new Bloodline, I just don't see the new Bloodline losing their very first match. Not with the way that they have been coming in like gangbusters. I know Cody's part of that match. I don't think he's the one who gets pinned or submitted or whatever the case may be. And we've also seen some tension slowly in the background, if you've been paying attention, with Randy Orton looking like that belt that you got around. I know I'm helping you, but I want it. I want it. He's been looking at Cody funny in the background. Like, I think it's a Bloodline victory.
Yeah, I think that one, you need to establish the Bloodline 2.0 or whatever, Bloodline Wolfpack, if you will. Like, you need to establish them as like an actual legitimate threat. Like, this is Jacob Fatu's first match in WWE. Like, he's supposed to be a big deal coming in. Like, you don't throw that away just for like a random hodgepodge team to kind of beat them. Plus, they're trying to establish them as like the big bads, and like they just took out Heyman, like, which again is all building towards Roman coming back. Which I was at SmackDown in MSG on Friday, subtle flex, but like the loudest cheers of the night were the chants. First of all, the chants involving Jalen Brunson. That man is a god in New York.
Of course.
There was "We Want Roman" from basically the jump, and Paul Heyman saying "You're not my tribal chief." Like, those were the three biggest moments of the night, three loudest moments of the night. So like, I think that when Roman's music hits and he comes back, like, he's gonna be the baby face that Vince McMahon always imagined that he was gonna be. So
he might be a bigger baby face than Cody when he come back.
Yeah. So I think, I was just gonna say, like, so I think that to get to that point, you kind of have to keep the Bloodline strong.
Facts.
I mean, shit, them putting Paul Heyman through the table is enough. And I was literally sitting there like, you motherfuckers really put him through? Like, it wasn't spots like that for guys like Paul Heyman are typically like softer. Like, he get hit in the head with a chair, or they powerbomb him in the ring on the fucking mat, or they throw him into the barricade or something. They really had him like red-faced in the air, legs in the air.
You ain't talking about nothing.
Like, I was sitting there like, y'all really put that man through the table? Like, the way he hit it, and then he slid down and the legs all, that's all you seen with this. I was like, bro, y'all really put him through the damn table. Like,
that's the closest that Paul Heyman has come to doing a sit-up in like the last 30 years.
No, he like, hey, look, he thought of ECW. Like, let me take the bump.
Last time I saw somebody older take a bump like that was probably Mae Young getting powerbombed off the stage and 2 tables by the Dudleys. The dedication you have to your craft to be. Paul Heyman's 58 years old.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna let y'all shield powerbomb me through a table. I'm 35. I don't think I will let you shield powerbomb me through no table.
Reminiscent of the Shield too, so it's like you still old to Roman.
Yep.
I am very interested to see like how quickly we're getting to Roman and presumably like the Usos or something. Like how quickly are we moving towards that match? Because like Paul Heyman has done more than anybody to get this new bloodline over. So like subtracting him from that story, like the only like maybe it's, you know, training wheels are off and like you guys are ready to go off to the races, but I feel like you can only have so much time without Heyman's involvement, like before, like you might lose a little bit of steam. So I think that we may be pushing the button sooner rather than later.
I mean, SummerSlam's on the way. I think after Money in the Bank and you start that build towards SummerSlam, that'd be a perfect place for Roman Reigns to come back.
Okay. Like,
at that old Biddy and neck break.
Again, like you said, the pop that Roman finna get when he come back. These fickle ass WWE wrestling fans who hated his ass, I can't believe he's still winning.
They can't even Roman now.
Lose his belt. Oh my God, we miss Roman. Shut the fuck up. No, you don't get to do that.
Solo been saying this since them chants started. He's like, oh, now you want him. Now you want Roman. Okay.
Sly added that the Rock and Roman just letting them brats run wild, and they are running wild. I can't wait till Jimmy comes back too, because Jimmy's been gone since they took him out. So I feel like he might come back with Roman, kind of like, I got your back at least, because at least when you was in charge of the bloodline, it was, for the bloodline. It wasn't like just we trying to ruin everybody and
we're trying to blow the world up. Like,
right. Someone said they should call it like the bloodlust. Like this is the group that is not here for legacy. They are just here to wreck shop. But someone else who's been wrecking shop is Braun Breaker. And he got a title shot against Sami Zayn for that IC championship. I am the only one who thinks that Sami Zayn will walk out and still. And the only reason I'm picking Sami is because I think that who's the guy who's been interfering in all of the Braun Breaker's matches from NXT? Ivan Dragunov. Like, there's been too much interference around this IC belt with Dragunov. There was someone else who's been kind of like
Tyler and Sheamus
and messing stuff up. And I feel like Braun has been built to be a dominant force. But I just don't see him. I just feel like there's going to be interference to kind of keep it off of him still for a little bit longer while they continue the storyline with Dragunov and everything like that.
I think that looking at it from a meta level, like if you're trying to build up Braun Breaker as the new big bad, like having him destroy Sami in Canada is a good way to really establish your heel.
It's in Canada, like come on.
Could be.
Now come on, it's in Canada. You go home, you lose. You know how this go. You go home, you lose your shit. You ain't winning at the crib. Come on now, we have to make you lose in front of your people. So what you winning in front of your family for? No, you have to. And then Braun has literally been fucking shit up. You give him that belt. Now the new, like you said, the new big bad is who's gonna take it from him. Dragunov can then start building his star on a rivalry with him. Louis Kaiser's trying to break off on his own because we ain't seen Gunther.
He can show up every so often and be like, "Hey y'all, remember?" Bye.
We ain't seen, like, he was wrestling every damn week. We ain't seen the man. Like, Kaiser's building his own. Like, he has his is more so with Sheamus than anything. Like, they had a program. They had like some videos and stuff like that on Raw against each other. So they might be like a pre-show kickoff or some shit like that. But Braun Breaker, and he's gonna get a rematch with Sami too, of course. Building him and treating him in the way that their segment went as well. Like Sami, he got a couple licks in, but as soon as he went to go for a luva kick, he destroyed him, as he's done every week to everybody. Nah, I would love, like I said, if he won it, I wouldn't be mad because of the fact that I like Braun Breaker. I like him in NXT, but hey, Sammy's my guy. So Sami keep it, I wouldn't be mad. But it's one of those, like, I feel like, okay, Sami, you got the big win. Mm-hmm. You helped your legacy. You helped carry the belt. You damn near put it on every pay-per-view. Triple threat matches, singles matches, on the regular show. You put it in matches. Like, you've been the fighting champion like you said you would. Like, we want this belt to be. You've had it for a couple months now. Well, let's give it to the young mid-card guy who's on the rise. Like, rising quickly, too, because backstage, they was like, they're boosting Braun Breaker's, like he's excelling. He himself, because of how he's performed on TV, has boosted the way that they want to push him earlier than they expected.
I feel it. It's just like I said before. He was someone who's doing a lot of squash matches earlier, and I was like, I don't really like squash matches. They, of course, then turned that into storyline with him finally having to battle out for a little bit, and then go on a rampage because he's been saying, I've proven to y'all I can do all this. Woo, woo, woo. It just feels still a little too early for me. And I think that this could be one of those victories for Sami Zayn during his title reign, where it's like, when you look back through it, once it does come to a close and you look at the Braun Breaker win, you're going to be like, like that was a really good one for him to get during his reign. And also, there's only 2 belts, up for defense on Saturday. And I don't see both of them switching hands. I really think Seth Rollins is going to win. So I'm going to say Sammy retains. Now, if it kicks off and Priest retains, I'm going to be like, oh, crap. And I want you to remember this. Because I won't say out loud, crap. This is probably not going to go well for me, but we'll see. Then we have our 2 Money in the Bank matches. We have our women's match with Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lara Vicera, Tiffy. I like saying Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. Taking a quick look at this, we all have somebody different winning the briefcase. Eric, why are you going with Tiffy time?
She to me has a gimmick that screams Money in the Bank. Like she's kind of like she's tough and she will fight you, but she also is fine with taking shortcuts, and like she'll probably make like a pink briefcase which they can then sell. And like I can see her being like opportunistic about cashing in on the title. They're kind of building up a friendship with her and Nia. Like if Nia wins her title match at SummerSlam, she can cash in on her. That creates a story. Like there's more there, and she's definitely like a future world champion. And as a heel, like this is the quickest way to get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. Or it's more so like it's a kind of like a, yep, we have faith in you. It's gonna happen at some point within the next calendar year.
Tim.
I got Lyra Valkyria. I feel like the beginning of her mini push was her getting to the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I said, when I predicted, I thought that she would win that one, but even then, she still put on a good enough match against Nia Jax. She's been in pretty good matches since she's come up. She's been in pretty high with like good opponents, like high-ranking opponents, to where I feel like they're building her to that big win. And what better way to do it than give her the briefcase, give her up to a year to continue to build, to continue to be a problem, to continue to be an issue along the way. And then eventually, hey, there it is. We got that one moment, we got that one shot. She already has the pedigree behind her. She already has a fan base behind her. She already has some big wins on her belt behind her already. And she went in early, like, she was in the finalists of Queen of the Ring. She only lost to Nia Jax, who's in the title match this week at SummerSlam. So it's like, it's not like you just putting it on anybody. You're putting it on somebody who's already kind of got a nice pedigree about her at this point.
See, y'all went the route of like, hey, they're up and coming. They deserve it. I'm going with Chelsea Green. And the reason I know I don't, but when I heard that the women's briefcase currently has a 100% cash-in rate, I said that's going to change. Like they've been throwing that out there a little bit too much, and I feel like whoever wins the briefcase when they cash in is not going to work. And for as much as I said I don't want Chelsea Green to win it, and that was solely because she wants to bring back the Diva belt, which can stay away. That belt was trash. I will say her character is so entertaining. She has been hilarious, and I think that she could be a nice like comedy with the belt or with the briefcase. So I'm going with Chelsea Green. Ken is going with Io Sky. So again, a match where, Money in the Bank, we all got different people who we think is going to leave with that briefcase. When it comes to the men's side, there's a little bit more consensus, but not as much. Still, at some other matches, Ken had Chad Gable. Tim, I know you're also going Chad Gable to win the men's match. And let me just rewind and also say who's in the match. Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre. So, Tim, why are you going with Chad Gable?
I've been putting my money on Chad for a couple pay-per-views now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I'm hoping he cashes in with Money in the Bank. You know what I'm saying? No, the storyline that he's in right now with the Wyatt Six, it seemed like they've zeroed in on him. I feel like with him winning the Money in the Bank, it's one of those kind of helps one helps the other kind of thing. Chad winning the Money in the Bank would be, okay, you haven't won the belts. We haven't given you the titles, but having the Money in the Bank briefcase and the men already have the losers, sure. He could be one of the ones that try to cash in and he loses it, but that helps his storyline with the Wyatt Six, help build them as well. I also feel like the way his character is, the heat that he's getting right now, because a lot of people really don't hate him now. Like he has big heat on him, which testament to him. The storyline he has involved with the Alpha Academy and Otis possibly leaving for the Creed brothers. Like there's so many different branches that he has right now with his story, to where having the briefcase, and I feel like the briefcase adds to a story. Will help not only just his, but anybody that is involved with him. Plus, again, I feel like it's a here you go, bro. Like you've been doing work, we'll reward you. You ain't getting the belt, but we'll reward you with something that's pretty, not necessarily close, but close enough to where it's believable that okay, Chad could cash in. I don't know how many people would actually believe that he would win it though. But he's opportunistic and he's a heel enough to where like he might be able to slide in there.
See, you mentioned the storyline with the Wyatt Six, and that's why I do not think he's going to win it. They are not going to let that man win that briefcase. They have too much ill will against him. I feel like they're going to pop out in that match.
What did you do to him? Them, like, bro, they've been on his ass.
And they're going to stay on it. They're going to stay on it. He ain't winning that briefcase. I think it's going to be, I think there's going to be a moment where it looks like it's going to be all Chad Gable and the lights go out or something and someone pop up. And next thing you know, he'll have another bullet hole in his head. Eric, who you got?
Like kind of to your point about like the briefcase being used as a storyline. I think this may, like, originally I was gonna say Jey Uso just because I feel like they want to kind of stamp him and like kind of reward because he is over like Rover, like he is. I mean, it's all entrance, but like it's fun as hell, and like people are gravitating towards it. Like opening Raw yesterday with him like in the concourse and like people going crazy, and then coming out into the stadium and everybody going crazy, and like him in the crowd. I mean, him in the ring. People still going like it's a sustained like for 6-7 minutes of Raw, just him entering like that. To me, it's kind of like okay, he's a top guy for sure. But the more that I thought about it, like this may be like the final twist of the knife in the CM Punk Drew McIntyre story, where it's like Drew McIntyre was very declarative after, punching his ticket on Monday. Like, I said I was gonna win this match and I did, and now let me tell you, I'm gonna walk out of Money in the Bank world champion, which to me makes me think he wins the briefcase, Seth wins the title, he comes back to cash in, CM Punk fucks him over at that point, and then that's how we get to SummerSlam. Like I like that to me, like that again. I know I'm fancy booking, but like that's like where my mind is going with that storyline. Like because like WWE tells you where they're going before they get there. So as long as you just like kind of reading the tea leaves, like you can kind of map out the route that we're going.
Yeah, I think that CM Punk plays a part in too. I just think it happens quicker, and it causes him to not get the briefcase, similar to Chad Wyatt, or just a Chad Wyatt, Chad Gable, where I think that CM Punk returns, snatches his bracelet back, and then that sets up them for SummerSlam. That might be the first match announced for SummerSlam, outside of the fact that we know Gunther and Nia Jax are getting title shots. I'm going with LA Knight to win it. I wanted to say Carmelo Hayes, because I feel like Lil Bow Wow been out here just taking his lumps, but if you give him a year with the briefcase, you can kind of build him up and then he'll be ready to cash it in. So that was mine. Like, I think so, but I'm going LA Knight because I feel like he was somebody who was super hot. I think he's still over to a certain degree, maybe not as we saw with last year when it was like peak LA Knight mania. But just to give him a briefcase, something to kind of keep him in the scene of things, and then give him opportunity to try to, again, get back into that main event picture. So I'm going LA Knight. I'm excited for this whole card, though.
Yeah, I think that Melo is probably my favorite for next year. Like, I think that co-favorite between him and Braun Breaker, like those are, I feel like both of them are kind of a year away from being like, yeah, this is for sure of, future world champion type of beat. And I think LA Knight, like they've kind of sidelined him with the Logan Paul story. Like he seems to be going for a U.S. title at this point. So it kind of muddies the waters if he's also Money in the Bank, but maybe it's like a winner takes all, like Money in the Bank briefcase versus U.S. title, or 2 out of 3 falls or whatever. Like set up a way to kind of like wager that briefcase, because that seems like, because honestly, I feel like Logan Paul should be probably the one. Like people would hate it, but like I think that for the WWE brand and for like the stories that they're telling, like I feel like that would be a great use of it. Because like if you get a title off of him to where he doesn't have to defend it, but he still has kind of like a trophy that he can kind of parade around, like that's probably better than holding the U.S. title hostage.
That's how they use that U.S. title for him. They use it that exact same way, where it's like, you take it on your podcast, put it on all your socials, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it should be a fun card. Looking forward to it. When we established our family 4th of July cookout, we said we're going to do it on Saturday. Completely forgot that was also Money in the Bank. Uncle Michael, I know you listen to this podcast. I will try to find a way to have wrestling on in your home. So I'm just going to say that now.
Get your heads up.
Little heads up. Might have an iPad, something, but some wrestling. I know you haven't watched wrestling since like the 90s, Uncle Michael, but it might be a family affair. But no, I can wait till I get home. Last thing, Tim had brought this up for NFL, just to let everybody know. Tonight is the premiere of Hard Knocks, the offseason edition with the New York Giants. That kicks off tonight on HBO Max. So enjoy that for y'all, Hard Knocks fans. I know I'll be watching for sure. And that wraps up the show for this week. As we mentioned, it is a holiday. So to everybody who'll be off work for the 4th, maybe you off the 5th too, enjoy the holiday. Eric said, no, not me. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your time off. Even if you don't feel like celebrating the independence of this country, because you might say, hey, everybody wasn't free on that day, so I don't care. Enjoy your day off still. Do something. Yeah, enjoy your time off.
Sorry to cut off your point. I thought you were done. WNBA All-Star roster was announced. Remember, it will be WNBA versus Team USA. So it's Dewana Bonner, Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, Alicia Gray, Derica Hambley, Brianna Jones, Jonquel Jones, Kayla McBride, Kelsey Mitchell, Arike Agumbawale, Nneka Ogwumike, and Angel Reese.
My girl. Okay, I was waiting for the Angel Reese.
That's
just
nice.
to see if you made it. That's what's up.
Oh, that's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I actually got on my small screen. I'm very excited about our timing of this episode ending, so that I can watch this Aces game that's about to come on ESPN tonight. So
Aces Fever.
Yep.
Yes, Aces Fever. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I got some prize on that. Looking forward to it. All right, y'all. We're gonna get up out of here. Hope y'all enjoyed the show this week. Enjoy the holiday. We will be back next week with more tech file goodness. As a reminder, like the video up on YouTube, share it, show us what that word of mouth do, and keep being good people, y'all. If you want to follow me on social media, you can catch me.
Wait a minute.
On Twitter, Instagram, at Camille Monet, CamilleMonae.
At Busburner on Twitter.
That's all you get.
That is all you get.
K Harris Gentleman is not here. Everyday_gentleman on Instagram and Snapchat. K Harris 216 on Twitter.
And it's your boy, TIMKINZ, the number 3, aka Ask Ketchum, aka Mr. Give It To Me. We out though.
Indeed, we are. Enjoy, y'all. Take care and be safe.